Hello everyone, welcome back again to Jikook Diaries, where every soft laugh shared between Jimin and Jungkook, every parallel path they walk, and every quiet mystery they leave behind becomes a chapter we hold dearly in our hearts. And this time, the chapter is laced with alpine winds and whispers of something gentle, something pure, something that might have happened in the serene beauty of Switzerland. Let's go deeper. After the initial buzz began, the Jikook fandom did what it does best: slow the world down and look with eyes wide open. It wasn't just about the snow or the scenery. It was about the energy, the soul-level calm that both Jimin and Jungkook seemed to radiate in their posts during those mysterious days. For those who've followed their story for years, the signs weren't just aesthetic, they were emotional cues. There was a shift in mood, a softness in Jimin's expression, a freedom in Jungkook's smile, like two people who had, perhaps even briefly, stepped out of the spotlight and into each other's presence. A sanctuary of shared silence. And here's where it gets even more beautiful, because it wasn't loud. There were no grand declarations, no flashing hints, just moments, echoes. And for Jikook fans, those echoes speak louder than any public confirmation. Take Jimin's snowy snapshot, serene, delicate, as if time paused just for that click. The background, vast and white, like untouched poetry. Now place that next to Jungkook's snowy video clip just days apart, maybe hours. The same purity in the landscape. But what caught attention wasn't just the snow, it was the aura. That gentle stillness in both. And that's where fans began to feel something familiar, something sacred. It wasn't just about being in the same place. It was about being aligned. Then came the reflections. Quite literally, a zoomed-in image of Jimin's photo revealed what looked like the silhouette of someone standing behind the glass, not entirely clear, but the shape, the posture too familiar to be ignored. Fans tried to deny it, but the theory clung to their hearts: could that shadow be Jungkook? As the fandom dissected timestamps, locations, and even the direction of the wind in their photos, yes, really, what began as a coincidence started to feel oddly like a hidden storyline. Like puzzle pieces scattered quietly across Instagram, just waiting to be put together. But perhaps the most poetic piece of this unfolding narrative wasn't even visual. It was found in tone, in captions, in the small words both chose to accompany their images. Jimin's caption? A simple emoji, a snowflake, silent, soft, mysterious. Jungkook's? A lyric about freedom, about breath, about feeling alive. Two souls, it seemed, speaking in verse, not for the public, but perhaps for each other. And while the world watched them separately, Jikook fans began to feel something so subtle it could only be described as magnetic. That invisible pull they always seem to have, the way their timelines mirror. Their steps overlap. Their moods sync like a silent choreography meant only for the two of them. Could it be that Switzerland was their secret escape? A place where they could be free from cameras, from stage lights, from expectations, and just exist as Jimin and Jungkook. Not idols, not members of BTS, just two hearts sharing winter air and long, quiet conversations. And isn't that the most romantic thing of all? Not grand gestures or public displays, but the simple act of being in the same space, away from the world, yet connected by it. A snowfall that covers more than land, it hides whispers. It protects love. It blankets over doubt and lays bare something fragile, something real. It wasn't long before a few local fans claimed to have spotted two figures walking down a quiet Swiss street at dawn. Bundled up, hoods on, faces half hidden by scarves. Just walking, laughing softly. One taller, one a bit smaller, with a bounce in his step. No photos surfaced, but somehow, that made it even more believable, even more magical. What if that was them? Jikook in the middle of a town that didn't know their names, watching the snow fall onto cobbled streets, drinking hot chocolate in a tiny cafe, sharing stories in quiet rooms where no one needed to understand, only feel. Switzerland, after all, isn't just a country. It's the kind of place where romance lingers in the air, where mountains stand like witnesses, and lakes hold secrets that never ripple to the surface. A perfect stage for a love story written in silence. But here's where the line between dream and reality begins to blur. Some fans, especially those who've followed BTS for years, began to feel a familiar ache. That sense that something beautiful was happening, but just beyond reach. That maybe, just maybe, Jimin and Jungkook were giving the world a glimpse, a whisper of their truth, but asking us not to pry too hard. And that brings us to the real heart of this story. What if the point isn't whether they were there together? What if the real gift of Switzerland is the way it reminded us of how deep Jikook's bond runs? How they don't need to speak aloud to be understood. How a snowflake, a silence, a similar view can tell us everything we need to know. Because Jikook has never been about confirmation. It's about connection. A connection that survived distance, time, fame, and scrutiny. A connection that finds its own quiet rhythm, even when the world is loud. A connection that feels always like home. And that's exactly what this Switzerland moment gave to the fandom, a reminder that even in the hush, in the half-told stories, love can be felt. Deeply, powerfully. Perhaps that's why so many were moved. Not just by the possibility of a romantic getaway, but by what it symbolized. The desire for peace, for intimacy, for presence. In a world that never stops watching, maybe Jimin and Jungkook found a way to just be. And maybe, just maybe, they chose Switzerland for that reason. For its quiet, for its grace, for its snow, which falls not to be seen, but simply to cover the earth with softness. In the days that followed, neither Jimin nor Jungkook addressed the rumors. And perhaps they never will. Because the truth is, they don't need to. They've always let their hearts speak in a language only the ones who truly look can hear. And this time, that language was winter light, shared silences, and love too tender to name. And now, as the snow melts and spring slowly edges into the horizon, the memory of Switzerland remains not just as a setting, but as a feeling. A chapter that may never be confirmed, but will always be felt. For some, it's all just coincidence. For others, it's proof. But for us, the dreamers who've walked beside Jikook's journey all these years, Switzerland is something else entirely. It's a moment where reality and hope held hands. And in the quiet between their photos, we heard a story of two hearts finding warmth in the coldest season. Whether side by side or simply in spirit, their bond was present. And it moved us. And that's what makes Jikook so extraordinary. Not just the idea that they might be in love, but the way they make us believe in love. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that is content in silence. The kind that leaves footprints in the snow long after the lovers are gone. So maybe Switzerland wasn't about answers. Maybe it was about beauty, about mystery, about trust. Trust in a bond that doesn't need to be defined. And maybe that's what love really is. Whether it's speculation or truth, we're grateful. For the wonder, for the warmth, for the way our hearts fluttered with every shared frame. And for the gentle reminder that love, real love, doesn't scream. It whispers, just like Jikook always has. So as we close this chapter in the Jikook Diaries, take a breath and smile. Let yourself believe, even for a moment, in the possibility of something tender blooming under snow-covered skies. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive in loud moments. Sometimes it comes quietly, wrapped in snowfall, hidden in reflections, painted across a winter sky. And that is why, whether it was fact or fantasy, Switzerland will forever live on as one of Jikook's most magical mysteries. If your heart felt held during this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that soft little bell so you never miss a moment from our cozy world of Jikook Diaries. Your warmth, your belief, your love, it keeps this story alive. Until next time, dear dreamers, keep holding on to the quiet moments. Keep finding magic in whispers. And never stop believing in the love that dances just beyond the frame. Annyeong, from the mountains of our hearts to yours, Purple Heart.